Sorry, go ahead,
Hey,
Bryce.
welcome to the Super Centex After Dark podcast. Always a fun experience. I have my driver. We're rolling into Waco, and we had a lot of points scored tonight. I don't know if there was a lot of defense being played. DJ saw 102 points scored, which was only I think 4 or 5 more than scored against Riker tonight.
Riker but it was all by one team against Riker, unfortunately, exactly. For the Cougars.
Poor Riker. They lost 97-0, or maybe 96. So
yeah,
that's just brutal. But DJ, be careful while you're driving, but give us a little breakdown of your game.
Well, I mean, we're talking about, like, there's a lot of points scored, but that's partially because China Spring was playing some defense. And I think that's really the story of this game is, they've got a young defense and they're getting better every week. They held a Connally team, a really good Connally team, to under their usual. I think it was like 197 in the first half. And the Cadets did get more offense in the second half than China Spring did, but that's mostly because the Cougars just basically sped through the first half. Like, they won that game on first half defense. And I think Caden Exline was incredible, and they had some other guys, and obviously, an interception, a couple fumbles, some turnovers on first downs. Cash McCollum was the offensive player of the year last year for a reason. I think he's kind of stepping it up a notch. He had 7 touchdown passes and even went on a few runs. There was one where the guys in the press box, which y'all always know I get a little, annoyed when press box etiquette isn't being followed.
Which at a high school game, a lot of times it's not.
No.
We do a whole podcast on times that it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, I had the guy that was running the scoreboard was like slamming his fist on the table next to me. But at least he got his job done. Like, that's the one thing I can say that's the difference from other times I've been in a press box that has been, a little rowdy, is that they're so focused on the game that they let the clock keep running, or they don't have the right down or the right, line marked up on the scoreboard. And that can be a little frustrating because that's how I keep stats. But it was just a really big game. And I mean, Kyle Barton was doing it like on both sides of the ball. He was making, deflections, and then he went on a 90-ish kickoff return for a touchdown. And, that's not to say that Connally didn't have its moments, but yeah, the Cougars were kind of just back on track. And we all saw my tweet. And actually, before the game, Rod ate a lot, our photographer, sent me a text message, and everybody knows that texting with Rod is like trying to solve a riddle. He was telling me something about the lights, and it was that yeah, he was trying to tell me about the lights and how they switched up the lights at the stadium. Every time China Spring scores a touchdown now, the lights go flash off, on and off, right?
Right.
Even the lights at the baseball field were flashing off.
Wow.
Yeah, it actually looked pretty cool, but it's funny because I think there was the guy running the clock. He got a text from somebody that he knows at Connally, and they were like, those lights are going to give somebody a seizure. And he responded with, then don't let us score. Yeah, but I don't know. It was a good game, and honestly, it was homecoming. So to be real, the highlight of the night was the band's post-game show.
Okay.
So that was my game tonight.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess that's that bond Spring has. Levi, you were at Lorena-La Vega, which looked like that was a pretty good game, right?
It wasn't. I think the score is kind of not really indicative of how that game went. It was 35-13 at half. Junior Thornton went insane. He had let's see here. He had 192 passing yards, 210 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. His brother Jabari had 5 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 185 yards. They were going insane, and Lorena really couldn't stop it. And then the second half, Lorena just started to kind of ground and pound, take some clock, and then they got an onside kick, converted on that, scored. There was a crazy play where there was a tip pass on like a 4th and long that ended up as a touchdown. I think La Vega, their skill positions are just insanely talented, and it's going to be interesting to see as they go into district play how they can kind of keep up the scoring, because I know Michael covered the Midlow Heritage game last week, and then the Conley game the week before. They both kind of not blew, but they lost kind of at the end. Those real close games, and this week it felt like another one of those games where it felt like it was slipping away, kind of. But thankfully they had that 25 plus point lead where like it never really got to that point, but it wasn't something that La Vega should feel good about, because at the same time they did almost blow that 35-13 lead.
Well, when you have Junior Thornton on your side, that's a good thing. I mean, he's a big time playmaker, as you alluded to there.
Yeah, he is.
And that sort of is a good segue into my game. When you have Ty Brown on your side, if you're Midway, you still have hope. So my game was a complete manhandling by Rockwall-Heath most of the game, and you guys were talking about the press box earlier, DJ. Of course, we've all shared press boxes with scouts before, right? And so I was up there with some scouts who obviously were with a school that is playing Rockwall-Heath coming up here, in a week or two, I assume. And it was funny. Midway comes out, very first play of the third quarter, and they get a false start. And one of those scouts said, "You had 28 minutes to do that." But that's how it was going for Midway. And then all of a sudden, they get their first touchdown with like 7 minutes to go in the game, and they just woke up. And Ty Brown hit 2 big passes to Jackson Baird. Jackson Baird is a guy that Shane Anderson recruited from the baseball team. This is his first year playing football. He's a senior, but he had 2 catches in the fourth quarter, 65 and 60 for touchdowns. And all of a sudden, it's 31-24 with like 40 seconds to go. They kick an onside kick. They had kicked one before that was pretty close, but they didn't get it. And then they kicked one last one. They didn't get it. But, a little momentum to build on going into district play against an explosive Hutto team next week. So that's, I had, like Levi, I had a game that the score didn't exactly tell the whole story, because for 3.5 quarters, Rockwall-Heath just manhandled Midway. But, give it up for the Panthers for continuing to fight. Chad, a good win for Mart.
Yeah. Obviously a state ranked game. Like DJ's game, state ranked versus state ranked. And it didn't really in some ways it lived up to it because both teams made big plays. You could see how Centerville is capable of ripping through a lot of teams that aren't Mart. And Mart played, pretty well on defense. They kind of hung in there and played pretty well on defense. They created 3 turnovers, which was the difference in the game. Jonah Ross recovered a fumble and intercepted a pass. Had So he had 2 of those takeaways, and he like ran for 2 touchdowns and passed for another one, and he just had like an all-star type of game. He had like, he's been playing for them a long time and won a lot of games, and you can tell by how smart he plays, how he gets everybody else on the field in the right spot, it seems like. But they had a scare. He went down in the second quarter, I think, on a punt return of all things. He got banged up. The trainers come out. He comes off the field and can barely put any weight on his left leg. Then he goes over to the bench, and I'm watching him on the bench, and they're like treating it like it's like they're trying to stretch it out like it's a cramp, and then they tape it up, and he goes back in, and like almost as soon as he goes back in, he breaks a 44-yard touchdown run.
So he's okay.
He's all right, but it was a really gritty performance by him. And as many dudes as Mart has, you kind of look at that and you go, okay, Jonah Ross is going to be the key for them.
Yeah. Again, quarterback. I mean, it's important to have a good one for sure.
This just in, quarterback is an important position in football.
Yeah. Turns out that's the case. So Michael did not see a very good game. You were covering Waco High, right, Michael?
Yes, I was. And, unfortunately, Waco High had the responsibility of trying to stop a Clemson commit out wide. And, they didn't do a good job. Bryant Westco is his name. Really, really good player. Arguably the best wide receiver in the state of Texas. I think 24/7 Sports has him number 1. And I think he's like a top 3 player overall in Texas. He's a beast, number 19 for them. And, Midlow really just kind of jumped out on top very quickly. Took the ball off the opening kick and scored, and then the Waco High offense didn't do the defense any favors because it was like bad snap after bad snap. One of the bad snaps like rolled to like the 4-yard line, like their own 4, and Midlow gets the ball. Quick strike touchdown. Like it was just silly mistakes. That I counted 4 bad snaps in the first half that hurt them, and then they also had a punt that was blocked in their own territory that I think ended on the 16 or whatever. And just so they Midlow jumped out 21-0 first quarter, and it's like they just really couldn't get any momentum after that. I will say though, credit to the Lions. Second half they really showed up. Only allowed 6 points. So that was a good sign after, falling into a 35-0 hole in that first half. But Bryant Westco he's a dog. He ripped off a play at the end of he had 2 plays one in the first quarter and one in the second. Maybe these were both in the second quarter, but he caught like a little screen pass on the left side and took it like 63 yards for a touchdown with there were like 10 seconds left in the second quarter. They're taking a shot to try to get some points. And I mean, he just ripped off a big one. And then he had another play where he had somehow managed to create like 10 yards of separation, and he caught it. And there were like 3 Lions around him. This was like probably on the Waco High, like 20-yard line or something. And he just absolutely made all 3 of those guys look silly with jukes and spins and stiff arms and scored. And I was just watching that guy. I was like, yeah, you can tell this guy is on another level. So he'll be at Clemson next year, and I think we know why.
Don't let Micah Hudson hear you.
Yeah, right.
Well,
yeah.
the good
Right.
is 6 district games left because they're in a 19 district, so they played
Right.
2 of them and 6 district games left. The bad news is, they got to go play Micah
Right.
Hudson and Lake Belton.
Well, and then I think like 2 weeks later they've got Red Oak, Bryce, who's like number 8 right now. So it's not looking it's not getting any easier, and that's what Coach Helt talked about. But hey, Zach did text me. He said he's still high on the Waco High Lions. So
I'm gonna send him to a Waco High game as punishment. Drew, you were out at McGregor to see the Cubs and the Bulldogs.
Bulldogs with the second straight win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, Mike Shields, 2 wins in a row for McGregor. What did they do well tonight?
Yeah, so it was kind of the opposite of what y'all's scores were. It felt like the score was maybe not indicative. This one was. It just took a while to get there. It was 13-0 at half. Defensively, McGregor was as stout as you would expect. Offensively, though, they missed some marks. A couple of field goals that they were at the 5-yard line. They just couldn't convert. A turnover in the red zone. Some penalties killed them. But I really liked Sebastian Torres, their running back. He was the one that kind of stood out to me the most. He doubled his touchdown total for the year from 3 to 6 in the game, went for 157. So I was really impressed with him and really impressed with the way the front seven kind of clogged holes and how Clifton tries to run their offense. Didn't really give them much of anything to do or operate with. So yeah, that was kind of my impression was Coach Shields just really wants them to be competitive in a district as hard as that one is, dealing with Franklin and Lorena and all of them. And so that's what his kind of hope at this point is, just making building blocks, winning back-to-back, first time done that in a couple of years, but just being competitive. He felt like after non-district play, he feels like they should be competitive in every game. So that was a couple of my key takeaways from that.
Yeah. And y'all give it up for Drew. He is taking a job at the Bryan College Station Eagle.
Hey, congratulations.
Congrats, Andrew.
Sister paper. Yeah. So this is his last night covering a game for the Trib, but we're excited for you, Drew.
Thank you. And also shout out my alumnus, 3 straight wins. I think that matched their season total last year. Give it for the Robinson Rockets.
The Rockets, yeah. Rockets with a big win. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to actually see Robinson next week. They got Hillsboro. I believe Zach cover Midway Hutto because it's like 10 minutes from his house. But so here's my big takeaway. Go ahead.
Yeah, the you can tell the Chris Lancaster, attitude and fight is showing up for Robinson. I could tell that last week. They kept it going this week with another win. There's 3 in a row for them, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. So yeah, he's doing a good job there, and Chris Lancaster just looks like a tough guy. He's got that tough guy look to him. So
a little bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, he does. He does have that sort of look. So good for the Rockets, and I'm excited to see them next week. Here's my big takeaways listening to y'all. So DJ, if you're still on with us, it sounds like Cash McCollum should be on the honor roll. Jackson Baird should be on the honor roll. Jonah Ross should be on the honor roll. Sebastian Torres, and then that kid from Clemson.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's a beast. He had like 4 touchdowns and like almost 200 yards. So
yeah, so some big stat games tonight. And then hey, let me shout out the U Dogs too. I covered them Thursday night. Big win for University over Copper's Cove. Chad knows Kyle Chapman. Kyle Chapman is he was baseball coach. He's been soccer coach at University. He's been at University since 1990, and he said it's the first time in his tenure that they've beaten Copper's Cove, and he heard it was the first time since 1986 that University beat Copper's Cove. And they're dynamic, they're explosive. They really dialed up some good blitzes in that game. They've got to clean up some penalties. That was a mess, really. But they won in spite of that, So I'm excited to see kind of what where University's going under K-Ron Johnson.
They're like just a couple mistakes away from being undefeated, right? Because they should have took down Arlington Heights.
Yeah, it was a 1-point game.
Man, yeah.
Was that a district game last night? That was a district game last night, right? For them, for University.
No, because Copper's Cove is 6A.
Okay, so Chaparral is their district opener?
Yes. Celine Chaparral is their district opener next week.
Hey, there's DJ.
I just got home. So.
I'm almost a Hewitt myself. So they start district next week against Colleen Chaparral. Copper's Cove
Hey, Will Hammond versus Ty Brown next week, though. That might be like 1,200 yards between the two of them, right?
yeah, it really could be.
That's
really,
like Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes type of.
well, you know,
matchup.
Zach compared Ty Brown to Josh Allen. So there you go.
No.
All right. Well, thank y'all for your good work tonight. Go home, get some sleep, drive safely. Appreciate y'all.
One more thing. Y'all,
Oh yeah.
one more thing. Y'all go have a talk for me tomorrow. It's Mexican Independence Day. Viva Mexico.
Got you.
Got you.
You don't have to tell me
Done.
twice.
Yes.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Because I eat tacos for pretty much every meal anyway. So
We'll do.
Breakfast tacos on our way to the Baylor game. I like it. All right. See y'all.
Bye.
Yeah.
They all-